everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and as promised, in this video I'm going to be talking about the worst books on my bookshelves, according to Goodreads. I did a video last week in which I talked about the best books that I've read according to Goodreads, and so now it is time for the worst. So basically, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I've read that are rated on Goodreads at 3.5 stars or lower. I would have done 3 stars or lower, because to me 3 stars is not a bad rating, that's very average to me. But there was only one book that was rated below 3 stars, so I had to widen the range a little bit. But anyways, jumping right in, first the book's rated at 3.49 stars. And the first one is Loveblind by Decear and Jolene Perry. And I liked this book well enough. I first picked it up because one of the main characters, it's a dual perspective story, one of the main characters is going blind, and though I myself am not going blind, I do have extremely bad eyesight, and so I thought it would be interesting to read about a character who is facing blindness. And yeah, it's a YA romance that was fine. I think I rated it like 3 stars. Again, I don't think 3.49 is a bad rating. It's probably a pretty appropriate rating. So yeah, very, very average teen romance. And then the other book rated at 3.49 was A Prom to Remember, which I don't own this book anymore because I did not like it at all. I probably rated this one like 2 stars. This is one that I got from the First in Line book club, which is where I got free books once a month for a year, a little contest I won. And these books were very hit and miss, and this one was a miss. Next, moving on to the books rated at 3.48 stars. And here we have Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler, aka Lemony Snicket, which, it being by Daniel Handler and the beautiful cover are kind of the main reasons I kept this book. I can see why it has a little bit lower of a rating because it's a very strange book. It does have cool artwork. It is interesting. It's set up not like any other book I've read, but it is kind of boring and strange. Next, we have books rated at 3.45 stars. And at this rating, we have The One Memory of Flora Banks by Emily Barr, which is another one I got from the First in Line Club. This one wasn't a hit or a miss. It was one that was just okay. Kind of an average YA novel. Again, it's got a really pretty cover. Again, I think I rated this one like 3 stars, so 3.545 sounds about right. Next, the books we have are rated at 3.43 stars. And the first one is The Fashion Committee by Susan Jubi, which this is another First in Line Club book that actually has kind of similar vibes to A Prom to Remember, but I enjoyed this one a lot more than that one. This one just felt cuter without being silly, I guess. It didn't read as young as A Prom to Remember. And also at 3.43 stars, we have Uncommon Type by Tom Hanks, which is a collection of short stories that I did not enjoy at all, but I generally don't enjoy short stories. So I unhauled this one right away, and I think I probably gave it 2 stars, maybe. Next, the book's rated at 3.39 stars, which we have 3 books from the same series, and that is the What If series by Liz Ruccionell and Sarah James. And these are all Choose Your Own Adventure books. These aren't very good, but they're the only Choose Your Own Adventure books that I own, which strangely makes me not want to let go of them. So they're not like on my actual bookshelves. They're in the closet, but I also am not at this time planning to unhaul them, but I can see why they're among lower rated books. Next, rated at 3.37 stars, we have The Wish by Gail, Carson, Levine, which this is a book that I really liked when I was a kid. I have held on to it for, I guess, sentimental sake. I have not read it in years, so I don't know if I would still like it, probably not, but this is one that I got from the Scholastic Book Fair as a kid. And I don't know, this rating is probably appropriate, but I don't remember this book very well. Next, we have books rated at 3.34 stars. And we've just got one, but I don't own it anymore, and that is The Whole Thing Together by Brashares, which I loved The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants growing up, and this was another First in Line book, so I was really excited when it came, because I was excited to finally read another Brashares book. But then it was a huge disappointment. It was a tiny book, and yet still slow-paced and boring, and I did not like it, and I unhauled it, and I gave it maybe 2 stars. Next, rated at 3.33 stars, we have Blood Rose Rebellion, which I also immediately unhauled. I might have DNF'd this book. It was really bad. I rated it 1 stars for sure. And this was another First in Line Club book. Next, rated at 3.3 stars, we have The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling, which this isn't really my kind of book. It's a literary fiction, but I thought it was okay. I thought it was interesting. I think 3 stars is a good rating for it. Next, at 3.29 stars, we have I Love You, Beth Cooper by Larry Doyle, which I love the movie I Love You, Beth Cooper, and the book is just like the movie, but less satisfying. But I do still own it. I think 3 stars would be an appropriate rating. Next, at 3.28 stars, we have the 3rd book in the City of Ember series by Jean Duprow, which I hate all of the sequels to the City of Ember, but I do really like the 1st book. So the 3rd one having a bad rating, I think, is appropriate. In fact, I would rate it lower. I would rate it 1 star. The 1st book would be more like a 3.28 to me. Next, at 3.27 stars, we have Genuine Fraud, which I do not own anymore. Unhauled it right away. Another First in Line book. And I was excited for this one because it sounded cool and it was by an author who's pretty popular, but I did not like this book at all. It was hard to follow, but boring. It was bad. 1 star. Next, at 3.24, we have another What If book, which I already talked about these. They're kind of meh. And then at 3.07, we have The Night Gwen Stacy Died, which is the weirdest book I have ever read in my life. And yeah, it's just very weird. Didn't really enjoy it. I would give it maybe 2 stars. And then finally, the worst book that I have read, according to Goodreads, we have at 2.99, the only one rated below 3 stars, Dear Emma by Katie Heaney, which this one is sitting on my to be unhauled shelf, but I didn't put it there as soon as I finished reading the book. It went onto my regular shelves, but then my YA shelf started to fill up and this one was really just okay. And so I eventually did decide to move it over onto the unhaul shelf, but I don't think that this should be the lowest rated book I've read. It's not that bad. Although that being said, I would rate it probably 3 stars and it is rated 2.99, so that is still close. But yeah, those were the worst books that I've read according to Goodreads. Let me know down below some of the worst books that you have read. Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.